Chase Young signed with the New Orleans Saints a 1-year, $13 million deal. He's number 2 overall by Washington. Got traded for a third-round pick at the deadline last year. But got traded for less than his teammate Montez Sweat, which is pretty wild. Been banged up, hurt, all this. But feels like a pretty good spot for Chase Young. You're playing alongside Cameron Jordan. You know, you've got you look at you're going to get 6 games against the Panthers offensive line. You get the
Which they've
Bucs
retooled in the interior.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, so like it's you feel like you're gonna get a lot of single looks against maybe some questionable offensive line. And if you're Chase Young, it's definitely a prove it situation where you need to go out there, have a big year, and then try to get paid because I mean, frankly, his career has just not lived up to the hype.
Yeah, it's interesting that it took this long for him to sign in free agency, and then you look at the number. It was actually a pretty strong financial number for the Saints to give him this late in free agency. I believe he's getting $13 million for 1 year. And a lot of people are wondering, like, how healthy is he, right? What does the knee potentially look like? Because that was always the issue with Chase Young going forward. And I would say in the beginning of this past season, Brinson, he started off on fire, right? 5 sacks in 7 games, gets traded, like you said, to the San Francisco 49ers. And then 9 games only has 2.5 sacks and isn't really making an imprint now. Had a really strong Super Bowl. So I think that's maybe what kept teams a little bit enamored. And this is almost like a 1-year prove-it deal for him. But my question is, what are the Saints going to do? Because Cam Jordan, who's always been consistent, is there, but he had a dip in production last year. But then Carl Granderson had a career year last year and got an extension as well. He had 8.5 sacks, and Carl Granderson was their best rusher last year. So if you're paying Chase Young $13 million, are you going to tell the seasoned vet he has to sit down? Because the money that you're giving Granderson is starting money as well, too. So it'll be interesting to see how they, maneuver around that lineup. And also Peyton Turner was a guy they took in the first round a few years ago before that. So you talk about a lot of high draft picks on that defensive line for the Saints. And then Carl Granderson, who has been a consummate pro and just has developed and got better every year, a homegrown guy that they, gave a deal to, and he was deserving of it.
Yeah, we talked about yesterday with the Saints. It's like they're just kind of like there, and I don't really know what they are. Like it's like they have like this high floor. It's like they're just gonna win 8 or 9 games, and then it's like
This was my thing, but not to cut you off. Like we were talking about this on Spotlight last week, and I gave them. We were doing winners and losers from free agency. I had the Saints as losers, and people were like a little pickled by that. But I'm like, there's no way you can look at the rest of the division and see what the Atlanta Falcons did, the Tampa Bay Bucks did, and stay pat. Now, again, I get it. You're in cap purgatory, but you're in that every year because you keep kicking the can down the road with some of these bad contracts. At some point, you just got to start over and have a struggle year and reshape this thing. That way you're not always grouped into, they're going to win 8 or 9 games. They're not going to get to the playoffs. Or if they do, they're going to lose in the first round. Like, is that what your legacy is going to be with the New Orleans Saints? Like, if your ownership there, are you comfortable being in that realm every single year? Yes, we're good enough to win 8 or 9 games. We're in a not so good division. Maybe we could sneak in and win the division at 9 games. No, the Tampa Bay Bucks got significantly better, right? The Atlanta Falcons got significantly
way better. And the Panthers got better.
Yeah. If you look at Carolina, even technically got better, even though they lost Brian Burns, but they've solidified the interior of that offensive line, traded for Deontay Johnson. Like, they're making moves, and yet you're staying pat. And you're kicking the can down the road, and you're going to win with another 8 or 9 games. Like, this is my thing with the Saints. That's why I had them losers in free agency, because you can't stay pat and think you're going to change, right? That's literally the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over.
Hope is not a plan.
And thinking it's going to change. Exactly.
Right.